She's a black woman. She's supposed to be the civil rights icon. And yet she's now turning the movement to justify homosexuality and transgenderism. And this is what you have to say to that. We really have, again, this is just, you got to say it, you got to respond to it. The real problem here has become what the meaning of discriminate is. Taken at its core, if you just go to the dictionary, it just simply means to discriminate, means to draw a distinction. There are healthy and unhealthy behaviors. There are wise and unwise choices. That's discrimination. Good, bad, wise, unwise, healthy, unhealthy. You can't, there can be no life, no liberty, no reality without discrimination. Recognizing that there are separate persons, private property. How you can distinguish what some people are talking about, like there's invidious discrimination, in which you issue judgments against others based on immutable and value-neutral differences, skin color, ethnic status. Initially, yeah, that's abhorrent. We shouldn't discriminate against people because of distinctions that don't have any judgment or moral consequence. Being black, being Hispanic, being white isn't a negative. It just is. It's immutable, it can't change, and it doesn't affect us, strictly speaking. It has no moral value to it. So we want to recognize, yeah, there's invidious discrimination, and then there's just discrimination. I mean, reality itself, there's male, there's female. The fact that I recognize Greg is not Laura, is not Eli. Technically speaking, that's discrimination. I'm recognizing these are different individuals, strictly speaking. And we have to educate people on this, and we shouldn't be afraid to do so. This is another one. They love to throw this at us because of the, they want to use our religion against us, so to speak. We often hear, Jesus said, judge not, lest ye be judged. How many of you have gotten that thrown in your face when it comes to discussing this issue? Well, we need to have an answer for this. And this is how you do it. And this shows that you're one-upping them. You look at this. This is drawn from Matthew, his Sermon on the Mount. The original Greek of that word, diakrino, it means condemn. It's because in English, judgment covers a lot of ground. There's like judgment. I like this, I don't like that. Judgment is this gets an A, this gets a B, this gets a C. Again, it covers a lot of ground. But what Jesus was talking about was condemn not. So I'm not the one who sends somebody to prison. I'm not the one who sends somebody to jail. I'm not the one throwing somebody off a cliff. That's what it's talking. Condemn not lest ye be condemned. That's what's there. We are called to judge. Jesus did not say don't draw distinctions. Old Testament and New, choose life. Jesus said, I've come that you might have life. That's a clear distinction, life or death. Telling people the truth about their condition is not even condemnation, but clarity. It's a form of love. Again, we're not sending anybody to prison or to hell when we tell them the truth that their behaviors are destructive. And here's some verses you can throw at them too, because usually they're not even believers themselves. They just want to shame you in silence. Proverbs 15:31, the ear that hears the reproof of life abides among the wise. Proverbs 13:24, he that spares his rod hates his son. Now we're talking about discipline, we're not talking about vicious corporal punishment here. He that loves him chastens him betimes. Again, it's a form of love to say, that's not okay. It's not hate. James chapter 5, verse 20. Let him know that he which converts the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins. So again, we're not even, when you're telling people they're doing something wrong, not only are you not condemning them, but you're loving them. And you've got the Bible to demonstrate that. So if they want to throw the Bible, you can throw it right back. You've got more verses. And I want to share this testimony. Robin Goodspeed, a former lesbian, she has testified every single time that her mother really cared about her because her mother never enabled or celebrated her lesbianism. She loved her, told her the truth. They're not in conflict with each other. And this is important too, especially if you have parents who have gay children. You say, it's not hatred of your child to tell them their behavior is destructive. Don't fall into that line. So, and then up last, of course, if it escalates into, I don't care, you're a hater, you're homophobic, blah, 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 we can respond calmly. On the contrary, anyone who thinks that children should be polluted with this ideology is hateful. Anyone who supports LGBT does not love, but rather hates those individuals, and rather that they die than live. And as for homophobic, I've often said this, and it just throws people off. This is what you should say too. The truth is that anyone who does not have the courage to speak the truth about this matter and tell homosexuals the truth about their behavior, they're really the ones who are homophobic. Let's just be honest. They're afraid to tell the truth. They're afraid of the reproach of men. They're afraid to be, they're the homophobic. You're homosexuals, right? They're the ones who are afraid. We're not. I've said to homosexuals, look, I respect your natural rights, but your behavior is destructive. Okay, you're not just your sexual behavior. So those are like concretely, and I'll email those to you if you haven't received them. That's how you start integrating that to deal with this. Okay, sure. Questions? Yeah.
Well, I was just going to tell you that I have a list. I'm going to shoot it to you at emails.
Wonderful.
So you have
Okay.
everybody here.
Thank you.
And I'm going to go ahead and excuse myself, but just to let you know, this little church here, Westside Community, they're also very pro-life supporters here. And we had an event not too long ago for 40 Days for Life. And right now, as we speak, we have a Planned Parenthood only a few steps away from us here. So I welcome you to maybe follow Tony Villafranca, to the prayer site, or Mary after this meeting to join in prayer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so a big thing I wanted to be able to accomplish tonight is to give people tools. How do we start dealing with this? And now you've got it. Deal with people who are family members, friends, etc. Let me now talk about how our movement is winning. I'll go, I appreciate, keep me posted on time. I don't have a clock in front of me, so. The first thing, this is huge, and of course you're not going to hear about this, but you need to know. The city of New York, liberal, openly gay, big-time pro-gay bastion. The city of New York was forced to repeal their comprehensive reparative therapy ban. Reparative therapy helps individuals who are gay to get out of it, or who are transgender, who want to get out of it. Why is it that one of the most liberal cities in the country repealed their reparative therapy ban? This is the first it's ever happened. Why is this happening? Alliance Defending Freedom filed a lawsuit on behalf of an Orthodox Jewish rabbi who offered reparative therapy. This ban was comprehensive, children and adults. If you could not offer the therapy to adults or children. In the state of California, it's illegal to offer it to children. They tried to ban it for adults, but MassResistance led the fight to stop that. New York repealed it. They had to. This lawsuit had a lot of excellent legal ground behind it. The Speaker of the City Council, openly gay himself, recognized that the courts have changed, have become more conservative. Second Court of Appeals, United States Supreme Court, have signaled that they will not support these reparative therapy bans. They're a violation of the First Amendment. They repealed that. That's the first thing. And you won't hear about that. LA Times is not going to write about that. Union Tribune will not write about that. This is an earthquake, because it's now the basis for repealing other bans. The Arizona Supreme Court upheld the right of calligraphers to refuse service to a gay couple for a gay wedding. This was the Supreme Court of Arizona. 4-3 decisions. It was close, but they reaffirmed the right of private enterprise. You don't have to provide a service. A recent Harris poll, which was published in USA Today, has shown that there is an increasing opposition to LGBT from young people. Young people are getting turned off to this agenda because, especially Generation Z, anyone born in 2000 or after, and the younger millennials, they've grown up right away seeing LGBT as tyranny. They don't know the stories of the early 90s or the late 80s where people were dying of AIDS and pouring ashes on the lawn of the White House, where they were completely portrayed as victims. All they've seen is an entitled class of activists demanding respect, demanding to be accepted. That's all they've seen, and it's a turnoff. The numbers are going consistently down. They don't support this. So we have a new generation, like Eli's generation, that are turned off to this, and they see it as militant and tyrannical. This is also one of the biggest pro-gay news sites. It was called Gay Star News. Again, you're not going to hear about this. It was based in the United Kingdom. They had a national profile. They reported on all the pro-gay news they could find. When gay marriage was passing in Taiwan, they did a big article on it. When there was news in Thailand, or what was going on in West Africa. When any gay person got beat up, and that's a terrible thing. We want to protect the natural rights of all, but every time a homosexual was a victim, Gay Star News did a big story on it. One of their most vicious attacks occurred 2 months ago a reparative therapy or a counseling outreach group in Singapore called True Love was maliciously targeted by Gay Star News. It was called an effing disgrace. They're lying. They're taking advantage of young Singaporeans to get them out of the gay lifestyle. And I kid you not, the next day, Gay Star News was forced to announce that they had to shut down operations entirely. No money, no ad revenue, nobody was reading them, they had to shut down. And the funny thing too is like these pro-gay news sites in general are collapsing. Even openly gay Pete Buttigieg doesn't like watching them. So the whole gay propaganda news organ is collapsing across the country, across the world. Here's something else, again, you won't hear about this. Gay pride parades are actually getting shut down little by little. How many of you knew? Okay, so Glasgow in Scotland. This year, they had to cancel their gay pride parade. They don't have the money. They're in debt. Toronto, the gay pride parade has brought in less revenue year after year after year. The Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, is kind of squishy on family issues. However, he does not march in it because they're so anti-cop. And even gays have said, these gay pride parades are disgusting. You have these ugly, naked men, pot-bellied men walking around. And of course, they want to arrest Bill Latcott for passing out gospel tracts, but the gay men can walk around naked around children and nothing happens. But I mean, here's other things I can tell you. I mentioned Glasgow, Edmonton, Alberta. They had to shut down their gay pride parade because there's so much intersectional friction. You have one group that wants to allow police to march in it, and the other doesn't, so the thing collapses. In Washington, D.C. and in Minneapolis, Minnesota 2 years ago, both gay pride parades were shut down because Black Lives Matter jumped in and shut them down. I mean, the leftist ideology is collapsing. They're just eating themselves alive. Aurora, Illinois. So Chicago still has its issues, but the suburbs of Illinois, they're not having gay pride parades anymore because they can't get anybody to sponsor them. No money. In Hong Kong, they have something called a Pink Dot Festival. They had to cancel it this year because of the violence that's ensued. People are starting to roll it back. I mentioned how in California we stopped the reparative therapy ban. We are now using the New York City case. I contacted Evan Lowe's office the same day, and I said, you're going to have to shelve that bill permanently to ban reparative therapy for adults. You are not going to survive a legal challenge. The city of New York has seen the light, and more good news on a general level, the Ninth Circuit that oversees the state of California has also become drastically more conservative. The president has put so many pro-life, pro-family judges at the Ninth Circuit that it's almost an even parity. I mean, the Ninth Circuit is starting to uphold his immigration decisions. And the main decision, Nifla v. Becerra, is the one that will be the final decision. Clarence Thomas, he wrote the majority opinion stating any ban on a therapy to help people believe homosexuality is unconstitutional because it's turning a form of speech into a second class that doesn't enjoy the same protections. That's ridiculous. There's no second class status of speech, especially if you're saving lives. So there's that. Vatso v. Tampa is another federal decision striking down reparative therapy, so there's going to be a fight. Different courts are giving different rulings. The Supreme Court's going to rule on this very soon. Every day, former homosexuals are coming out of that lifestyle, and they're talking about the liberty of being free. You can visit these websites, oncegay.com, truelove.is, and such were some of you. They exist, and there is a rigid attempt to silence them. When you're having a discussion with people are born that way. Just give them those 3 websites. That's proof. You have, Jim Doman is one example. He goes all over the state of California. He lived the gay lifestyle, now he's married and has children. No, people are not born that way. Here's a perfect example. There's that. MassResistance has shut down drag queen story hour programs in Tennessee, Ohio, New Hampshire, Texas. I will segue to what happened today. Thanks for bearing with me. I know I've talked a lot. And look, I know I've been critical of the president regarding the desire to decriminalize it. But here's what I can say. The president may be giving lip service to LGBT stuff, but let's look at the actions. He has banned transgenders from the military. That was just nonsense to allow people with such mental disorders to serve in our military. And the truth is, the only reason that people would go into the military, or why this would happen, is they would get a free surgery Government paid so a man could become a woman or a woman become a man, and then they're useless for 3 years having to recover. It's paid by the taxpayer's dime, and then they get court-martialed or they get an honorable discharge. That's the only reason it was happening anyways. It's a total scam. So there's that. He stopped the hosting of the gay pride flags over government buildings. He did that. He has also issued executive orders protecting life, defending Planned Murderhood. Planned Murderhood is pushing the LGBT agenda. So I'm really glad to have 40 Days for Life going after them. And I would submit to you, he pays lip service to LGBT, and yet at the same turn, it's completely split the whole agenda. Because so many LGBT are so militantly anti-Trump. The Gay Pride Parade in 2017 in Los Angeles, I had my sign, Take Back the Rainbow. I was in that. There were gays who voted for Trump, and they said to me, there's no way I was going to march in this, because I voted for the president. It turned into a resist parade. It turned into an anti-Trump hate fest. And they always talk about love is love.
Yeah,
and because the LA Gay Pride Parade became so militant, all the corporate sponsors withdrew. Said, we're not going to support this. So the city had to pick up the tab on it. The Philippines, I mentioned, rejected gay marriage. I think there's some hope, even on the political landscape. Marine Le Pen, when she ran for president in France, she ran on a platform saying she would abolish gay marriage. She said, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to go back to moms and dads, one man, one woman. And I think that's something we can hope for too, that we will start having candidates who have the courage to say this. Right now, it's not happening. But the more we become militant about this, the pro-life movement and its militancy, now we have a congressional minority that has pressed 90 times, I think, to have a Born Alive bill come to the floor. You know, they fought for that for 6 months. They didn't even try to repeal Obamacare 50 times over 8 years. It really shows how powerful pro-life is. So, and now I can talk about today what happened. This was great. Bill was there, Miranda was there, and Tony. What we were able to accomplish today. I mean, first we got a meeting with Jill Galvez, and she emphasized to us a commitment to public safety in the city. She was kind of wishy-washy about her strict opinions about Drag Queen Story Hour, but we kind of got the idea that, hey, this was not a good idea to push this program without any oversight or input from the city council. She was very sensitive to that. She had communicated her concerns with the city manager, who made excuses and said, well, the library is its own institution. I mean, the truth is there's some difficulties. City employees are like deep state. I just say that at a general level. They're hard to fire. They're there before and after a city council member is there. So that creates a challenge. But it doesn't mean that the city council can't enact policies. And so Jill was telling us, you know, show me some steps, give me some guidance on what we can do, what policies can be enacted to fix this. But the point is that there is massive outrage about this. It's only gotten bigger. And we were able to communicate that. Bill, what you had to say was beyond fantastic. I learned from you. You know, like I'm giving talking points to people. You've given me some. You know, like Romans 13, you know, she wanted to make this excuse, you know, we need to love and pray and all this stuff. It's like, that's the church. You're an elected official. You're a representative of the state. You're supposed to be administering justice. You're supposed to be holding back evil and protecting the innocent. You need to do something more than just talk about it, pray about it, and sit around and bow your head about it. So this was really, that was really compelling. I loved it. This is the kind of thing we need to see. And by chance, John McCann was in the city council hall today too. And you know what? He came to us. We didn't go to him. He came to us. And I talked to Martha Souza. I thought she was at the meeting, but I could say, who was there confronting John McCann on Thursday? Who was there? You were there.
I was there.
You were there. I know there were a lot of people there. Thank you for kicking his butt.
Martha,
It worked. It really did. That is exactly what you have to do. You didn't hold back. You burned him up and said, how dare you for doing nothing. That's what you do. I get so much blowback from some people. They think you shouldn't hit your own team. People gave me a little hard time about my ideas. I hammered him. I said, you need to do something. Don't just tell me behind the scenes. But then I got the meeting with him. That's how it works. You hit your team harder so that they step up and do what they're told. I said the same thing to Jill Galvez. You care about public safety. You care about the well-being of these children. You need to make a motion at the next city council meeting to get staff to bring back an agenda item, to dress up, to close up these loopholes so that the library doesn't do something like that again.
Right.
I told him about what happened in Leander, Texas. We were part of that. MassResistance was part of that. They went to the point where they passed a code or an ordinance where library facilities could only be used for city business or for city-sponsored activities. So that means no private organizations. They wouldn't be able to do a Bible study either. So, I mean, that's an extreme option. But if that's what it takes to protect our kids, you know, if people are, and then you could just look at the LGBT. You ruined it for everybody in the city because you want to bring filth and sexual predators and perverts around kids. Fine, then you know what? People will do this stuff that we won't allow the library to be used for any of these private events ever again. It'll only be for city, for city-sponsored activities. And John McCann showed up and he was taking notes and he was listening very attentively. He really got a wake-up call a few days ago.
Yes.
That's what it took. And so with that, I'd like to go offline and we're going to talk about briefly what we want to do going forward. So just go ahead and turn off the camera. Just go ahead and